About the daylight murder of the young girl.
Nikita Tamar, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I want to say is that I don't know how much of the religion angle was involved, but
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to know, in case you do not already, that in India the marriage laws are a bit messed up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Hindus have their own marriage laws,
Mm-hmm.
and Muslims have their own marriage laws, and depending on like if it is a formal marriage under those laws, so that determines how the divorce settlement and other things will be handled. But there's also a like religion neutral marriage law,
Mm.
so it's a bit messed up. I don't know why
Yeah,
it's like
there's
that and
the
when they will be fixed.
what's it called? Like the special, no, the
Yeah,
marriage, the Hindu Marriage
the
Act, which is under
yeah,
review
there's
in High Delhi Court. They'll see if it considers same-sex marriage soon, or if it covers it. And then there's the Special Marriage Act,
yes,
which is
special
for
marriage act.
interfaith marriages. Um, but
It can be used for any marriage.
mm,
It is independent of faith.
does it
Mm-hmm.
also does the Special Marriage Act also involve casteism to a certain intercaste marriage to a certain degree?
Like the special marriage act is written agnostic to any faith, caste, everything. It can
Mm,
be used by any two people to marry. I guess they can't be of the same sex because of the current legal structure, but it does not depend on religion or caste or anything.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, no, obviously we are for a single secular marriage
But
system.
how much do you think all of these things had an influence in what happened? Do you think this was just like again? I mean, isn't it the best thing to do right now? Is to just claim that we don't know? Like,
Yeah, we do
yeah,
not know.
we do not know. Okay, seems like a lot of people are coming up with a lot of theories based on. I mean, it's okay to
Just because
guess.
they know the faith backgrounds of the two individuals involved, I'm seeing a lot of jumping of conclusions.
I mean, it's okay to guess.
Yeah, you
As
just have
long
to
as you tell
remain
people
skeptical.
that yeah, that this is just a hypothesis, as a guess. I'm not married to this position. This is there's a very very likely that I'm wrong, and I'm open to changing my opinion as soon as I get some information. But based on the limited information because I don't want to be tell people like, oh, if you don't have information, then you shouldn't be like speculating at all. No, speculation is a very healthy exercise. Okay, especially it helps you, see how good you are in connecting dots with each other, right? But just you have to be clear first before to others, to yourself, that this is a mere speculation, that you don't have enough information, and this is a position that you're going to hold very, 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 very loosely because you are very ignorant about the details behind what happened, right? As long as you're honest with yourself with that, you're going to be honest with other people as well, and tell people like, this is my speculation. I'm not saying this is what happened. This is my initial speculation, okay? But what I've seen most people is like they come up with these guesses and they act like this is like revelation from God and this is definitely what happened, okay? I think we need to promote more skepticism, and when people say like, hey, this is my speculation, I think there's a high chance we could be wrong. Every time we see somebody saying that, and I encourage everybody else to do that, not just be skeptical, but whenever you see somebody else be skeptical, and whenever you see somebody else change their position based on new information, highlight it and congratulate it. This is here's an activist form of activism for you. Okay, don't just be skeptical. Celebrate other people's skepticism. Celebrate other people changing their position. That's a very simple form of activism that you could do. Whenever you see it, be like, "Hey, I noticed that you're being skeptical. I just want to take some time to congratulate you on your skepticism and make skepticism cool again." Okay, so that's something I tell people, suggest you do.
Yeah,
But
I fully agree with that. Like,
yeah.
I think the only people, like in that specific case, the only people who know the truth and the whole truth are would be the victim and the perpetrator, but and everything else, like there will certainly be a legal inquiry and all, but that would be just based on
Mm.
whatever facts can be uncovered.
And it's not a binary thing. It's not like you either know fully or you don't know at all. Like you
Yeah,
could be like, I guess now I have a little bit more evidence, so I'm gonna hold this position with a little bit more certainty, but not even close to 50. Not much higher than just a little bit more, and you'll be like, oh, now we have more evidence. You're never gonna get to 100%. You don't have to ever be at 0%. It's always like but most people think in black and white. So either something is true 100% or it's not true. It's 0% probability. Okay, but you have to like learn how to treat it with like, oh, I wasn't sure at all. Now I'm a little bit more sure, but I'm still willing to let go. Anyways, so
And
yeah,
yeah,
go on.
please go. I just wanted to say that there's this one thing which I wanted to ask you guys for so long, and what you said just confirmed it. That's the Bayesian worldview. That you have
Uh,
some prior knowledge, you collect evidence, then it becomes posterior. The posterior
hmm.
becomes new prior. You collect more evidence, and
All right.
I really want to live by that worldview. It really resonates with me.
That's good. That's good. All right. It works. It doesn't. It doesn't just resonate. It actually and
Yeah,
it produces best results. It gets you
Mm-hmm.
closer to
yeah, yeah.
reality than
It's
anything.
it's used it's
Yeah.
used in a lot of fields. Uh,
Yes. All
Anyways,
right.
my second thing, the second thing which I wanted to talk to you guys was that what's happening in France is that like in the 3 or 4 events in the recent 6 or so weeks,
Mm-hmm.
like knives were used, and not too long ago vehicles have been used. These are very common everyday objects. Like if like anyone can use them, and they can't really be banned or controlled. Like if there are lone wolves,
Right.
they can certainly like not use maybe but misuse them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what would be your thoughts on, like, it needs to be an ideological change, I think.
Yes, this
Certainly.
is it's really no. I see your point because a lot of people are like, oh, why France can't is not stopping it? Why is like what happened to anti-terrorism? A lot of people are criticizing the government from not being able to fully stop these attacks. But again, this is when it comes to creating a police force that could stop every single one of this. You're not going to be able to do that unless you become full-on police state. This is why this cannot just be an anti-terrorism strategy. It has to be an ideological battle at the same time. If it's not an ideological battle, it's going to be impossible for any state to fully stop every single one of attack unless they go full on China on your ass, right? Full on authoritarian on your ass, and we don't want that. That's like creating a bigger problem than the one that is solving. So I see a lot of people on the news are like, "Oh, why is the anti-terrorism tactics why are they not working? Blah this and that. France has failed us." They're like, no, the solution that you're looking for is not going to be. It's not gonna. This is not gonna end this. Um, you have to come up with a way to just change the people's opinions, and you have to make it long term. And the problem with this other solution is that it's a long term investment, and because it's a long term investment, it's not going to show the results right away, and people are impatient. So even if France does the right thing and wage an ideological battle against these ideas that is growing in France, because the results are not going to be immediate, it's going to be in over a few generations. People are going to think that they're not working, and this is why it's going to be hard for us to promote these methods because the next attack that happens, people are going to come out like, look, your methods are not working, and they're going to give up on them, right? So we have to figure out a way not only to promote the best ideas of fighting these ideologies, but also somehow sell it to people that are so very impatient. Susanna, you wanted to say something?
I think your point about the method in which these are undertaken is a very good point about convenience. That's why we saw such a steep increase in vehicular jihad in Europe over the past several years, right? Because it's very easy for someone to get a hold of a car and drive it through a crowd, right? Versus finding other means that I'm not going to say because of YouTube gods that are more complicated, involve more technical expertise, and are more likely to find you on a watch list as you go about trying to prepare the materials that would make a bigger impact, so to speak, right? So people do what is convenient by getting other things that are in their immediate environment, and they may not be able to go cause death to a greater number of people, but their likelihood of the immediacy of achieving it is more ensured, right? I think that's a
Right.
very good point, and that does drive home the imperative of changing the ideas and the minds behind things like this. But I think it's interesting to bring up, not necessarily to your point specifically, but in general of our conversation, I noticed that we kept talking about French Muslims, French Muslims, French Muslims. The people who committed this attack, like the Chechen who beheaded Samuel Paty, he was like, he wasn't French. He was a fairly new arrival to France. Reportedly, from what I have read so far, okay, asterisk, from the beheading that happened today in Nice, that person arrived from Tunisia a few days ago. Right? So this ideological battle has to go much further than France. Right? Because there can always be people who come from outside who want to target France specifically because they refuse to back down on their principles and their values.
Also, I do want to mention that a lot of people might say, like, Armin, you see, you're wrong. Immigration policies are important because these people just came from outside of France, right? And that's why you need stricter immigration values. I do agree. The immigration policies that I suggested would have stopped this, right? Again, what I suggest is not, when you best immigration policies, first of all, it shouldn't be based on religion, but it should be based on values, because a lot of people have religious labels, nominally religious labels, right? A lot of people who are labeled as Muslims or Christians or whatever, they do not actually follow Islamic values and don't have Islamic values, right? So I do think that there needs to be an extremely strict immigration policy, not based on the label of the religion that you pick, but based on adjusting for homophobia, misogyny, agreeing with secular values, enlightenment values, freedom of expression. Those, there needs to be obvious signals that you stand for those values. And obvious signals, like not something that you could just lie about. Like, you have to have a record of standing for these values for you to be allowed in this country, even if you're a Muslim, okay? But you have to have a better proof than just saying that you stand for these values. You need to have a history of standing for these values, right? And also, I think based on skill sets, right? If you have an immigration policy that is based on skill sets, that if you're again, none of this is going to be completely bulletproof. It's not like nobody's going to slip in, but it's going to extremely reduce the number of problematic people if your immigration policy is based on the number of engineers that you need, or based on the number of nurses that you need, or based on the number of doctors that you need, and you make it very, very strict. None of this requires you betraying your enlightenment values and all of a sudden saying we don't allow Muslims, just being Muslims, right? Or from Muslim countries. That is not the right way of doing it, right? But again, if you think like I'm being too easy on immigration policies, I could tell you that these people that were allowed in wouldn't have been allowed in based on the criteria that I have, right? Like
It's so true. And a
yeah.
blanket ban of people from Muslim countries will actually prevent people who share our values from being allowed in countries that will support them in their fight to free where they come from. Right?
Exactly.
I'm talking about ex-Muslim and secular activists specifically. Okay? Okay, wait, I just got really triggered. Like, this is why it needs to be on the basis of shared values. Okay? Because there are a lot of people who I talk to on a weekly and daily basis who would do anything to be in these countries because they are not going to take their freedom for granted. And as soon as their security, their citizenship, their residency is secured in these more free societies, they're going to put it to damn good use. Okay, making sure that other people are aware of exactly the price that they paid for it and the price that people and where they come from pay for it on a daily basis. Okay, those are the people that I fight for the hardest. And I talk to them regularly. And it's difficult to find ways to get people to places where they can continue to raise their voices for their countries and cultures and societies that they come from. It's a long process, and you have to work hard for it. But your freedom is worth it.
We do need to do a super
Yeah.
chat, guys. No more super chats. We're gonna be ending this soon. Hayes, do you have any? Hold on, let me unmute Hayes. Hayes, do you have anything else? We're gonna do a super chat, and
Yeah,
then
I just wanted to add to what
last
Susanna said.
question. Okay.
It's not really a question, I'm afraid. I just wanted to add to what Susanna said that yeah, tightening the immigration policy, like banning people outright from certain countries or faiths is certainly not the way. But yeah, I agree that tightening the immigration policies and screening people better would help. And
Yes.
I don't want to sound elitist, but in general, in my personal experience, I see that the generally the more educated a person is, the less dogmatic they are.
Right.
Because
Yep. I
education
mean,
is
it's
a
not.
disinfectant for dogma.
Yeah, so again, that's not going to be 100. People are going to find exceptions, but that I agree with you. That's true. So if you do screen for that, it's going to solve a lot of the problems. And if people find exceptions to that, that doesn't mean that it's not going to help. Okay, because it's a more a general trend rather than being 100. You're not saying you're not making a general statement. Okay, people are always going to find like some exceptions to the rule to prove you wrong, but that doesn't prove you wrong. Those are just anecdotes.